My name is Afakoma Apia. I'm a Ghanaian. I'm a graduate student in America. This is my first ever YouTube video, and this is going to be a first of many YouTube videos to come where we talk about graduate school applications, international student experiences abroad, and the graduate school process itself, or staying in grad school itself, learning, getting things right, getting scholarships written, getting research grants and all of that. I hope that I'll be able to share the few tips that I have learned over the 5-year period, and then be able to share with other people who are willing to learn, and also learn from everybody else who would subscribe to my YouTube channel. So let's have fun together. I hope this video will be very helpful. And today I'll talk about 8 mistakes I made in my previous application, so that you avoid them and then you do all the right stuff. Just journey along with me. So like I said, this is my first ever YouTube video. Please try and forgive me because mistakes would happen in the course of this presentation. But let's just start rolling. So yeah, we are in August and it's application season. I'm excited. I know some people are nervous and some are even frustrated, confused, because some have tried and they've not got any positive results. Others have also been trying, but they just start and they don't even submit because they get tired along the way, because sometimes gathering all of these documents can be stressful. But hey, I'm here to ease the process and I hope I'm able to do so. This year, 2022, will be my 5th year in the application cycle, in the application window. I mean, in 2017, I was a teaching assistant at KNUST in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And then I had a first class. I applied for about 14 schools, and all the schools I applied for did not give me admission at all. All the schools I applied for did not give me funding, and a few of them gave me admission. So I was surprised. I'm like, I have a first class and I'm a TA, so per my experience, I should get through this. But unfortunately, I didn't get through it. So in the year 2018, I reapplied to just 2 schools, Ohio University and Eastern Illinois University. And for both schools, I got graduate assistantships. I secured it. So I thought about it. So I'm like, no, definitely there were mistakes I made in the previous applications. There's some mistakes I made in the previous applications that failed me. So this time around, I'll just make sure that I don't repeat these mistakes. So first of all, I want to talk about desperation. Please avoid the temptation to be desperate. I understand that you want to travel abroad. I understand that you want to read a master's abroad, but there is something called desperation. When you're desperate, it affects your thinking faculty. When you're desperate, you are nervous. When you're desperate, you are not calm enough. So please avoid the mistake of desperation if you want to get a strong application through. So please be calm, just relax and think through everything. Think about the choice of school, because in my previous applications that failed, I actually, every school that we hear about, because we just wanted to travel, we would just rush through the process and then submit. So at the end of the day, all the applications failed. Yeah, that was what happened. And when you are desperate you would not be able to make the right choice of schools and even right choice of courses. And when you're desperate, even when you know you don't qualify for the program or you don't meet the requirements, you still want to push your way through. So that's what desperation does. So please try and avoid the temptation to be desperate. Secondly, avoid late submissions. Yes, I understand that in some graduate programs, they would not review the applications until deadlines. Anyways, in many schools where there is funding, oftentimes the August window, like this particular window, is when there are a lot of opportunities. Although in the January window or in the spring and other cycles, they're able to give scholarship offers as well. But if you really want to get things through, please try this window. And oftentimes, lots of the applications will not be reviewed until deadlines are over. Those with the intention to make sure that everybody gets a fair place or get a fair chance. You know what? If you delay in your applications, what happens is that you would end up rushing through the process, which means sometimes you may not even proofread your applications. You miss out on the address, you miss out on email addresses, you would miss out on your you make lots of mistakes when you're under pressure, because waiting to deadlines bring pressure. So what you have to do is this: avoid late applications. even as you're an advocate, have like a whole 4-month period. Try your best to make sure that you have put through all the documents in this period. Make sure that you are talking to your professors who have taught you. Make sure that you are talking to people who will give you recommendations. So avoid the temptation to do late applications, because lateness is going to cost you. You have to now rush through everything. You now have to just draft any SOP. You have to just do anything anyhow and then submit it. But sometimes if you have all the documents together already, it's very easy for you to just push through the application process and then you are good to go. Yeah. So that is the second mistake I think you have to avoid. It affected me in my previous application in 2017. So please make sure that you do not wait till like a week to deadline, to 2 days to deadline. I have submitted an application like I think a night to deadline before, and I think, what do you expect to happen? I think I made mistakes, so they didn't even give me the offer at all, and that's a story for another day. Thirdly, another mistake you should try and avoid is not following submission instructions. With submission instructions, I mean that sometimes when you open the admission portal, the university will just tell you that those are requirements. For example, in the year 2017, the University of Calgary told me, or as part of their requisites, I was supposed to submit my transcripts, like hard copy, right from KN University to University of Calgary via mail. I'm like, I'm a national service personnel. Why will I have to waste so much resources? Let me just send it via email. So I didn't take it to the post because I was trying to avoid charges and what have you. And I didn't get the offer. So some schools will require that send your reference letters via email. Send them through the professor's email addresses. Do this, do this, do that. Some schools would ask you that write a 1-page scholarship letter. Write a 2-page SOP. No matter how lengthy you think your ideas are, try and compress them into the university's requirements. Do not do anything that you think will just get you through, and still on not following instructions. Sometimes some people would actually just get up one day and say that, hey, I'm going to just apply anyways. But then sometimes there are requirements that the school has asked you to. GRE requirements, like maybe sometimes a grade of 140, 150 in the English at the quantitative side, at this side, at the verbal and what have you. Some schools in the UK can sometimes require that bring an IELTS of 7.0 before. So if you know you do not qualify, do not push your way through. Sometimes grace and faith can help you. But ideally, there are a lot of people applying and everyone has a qualification, or most people have the qualification. So how are you going to make yourself exceptional? And these people are dealing with lots of applications from different people. So if you put yourself in the position of not meeting requirements, even before they open your file, they've already thrown it out because you are not meeting or you're not doing what they've told you to do. So that's the third one. Try your best to make sure that the application you are sending through meets the requirements of the department. Don't just leave out certain things. If they've asked you that bring an SOP, you don't tell them that you've submitted a resume or a CV. So that should more or less be like enough to surface for the SOP. I don't think that will be fair, and that's not even fair. So thirdly, you should make sure that you have met all of these requirements. Don't just put in something that you think will put you there. Do what the school has asked you to. Don't just give them these requirements. Follow it. Sometimes they'll be like, this document should be in PDF. Don't go and put in Word. These are very little mistakes that sometimes we might take them for granted, but it can cost you because other people are sticking to the instructions and they're equally good. And that may be a reason why your application will not be accepted or may not be accepted. The fourth point I want to talk about is recommendation letters. Sometimes you may think that you want to give it to your pastor, you want to give it to your imam, that good man in your area, that good politician that you know, that big man that you know, but nope. These people do not know you. And they want to hear from people who have met you before, people who have taught you before, people who have had an experience with you before. So do not just go for anybody at all to give you a recommendation letter. I hope that in the days to come, I'll be able to speak more about recommendation letters and every other part of the application process. So the recommendation letters issue that I'm talking about right now, make sure that you take letters from people who have taught you, not just any lecturer at all, or not just any professor at all. Speak to people who have taught you and in whose classes that you did well. Like you got an A in that class, you got a B plus. Don't go and talk to that professor who you got a C in his class. He's very likely to give you a very poor recommendation, or he may not even write it. So you go to your professor at school or your lecturer at school, and then you talk to him that, hello doctor, I took your class in second year or in third year. I was very much happy about the grade I got and the lessons I learned, and then I'll be very grateful if you can write for me a recommendation letter. And if he agrees, voila, he'll just gonna write it for you. You can also let your boss, someone that you are currently working with, someone who can talk about your work ethic, someone who can talk about your experience, someone who can talk about like your strength, who can highlight it, because it's like a competition. Just imagine somebody talking to you or speaking on your behalf to an admitting body. So that is what you should be looking out for, not just anybody at all, like somebody who barely knows, like your pastor knows you or your imam knows you on that spiritual level or on that faith level, but cannot really speak to your strength in terms of work ethics, your academic abilities, your intellectual capacity, and all of that. Yeah, I hope you understand what I'm trying to make here. So do not just leave your recommendation to chance, or just walk into your department or where you did your undergrad or anywhere, and then you talk to the professor, and then you just walk to anybody and like, hey professor, I think you are a very, or because you presume that man is nice and he might just be nice enough to write it for you. So it happened to me, like I said, like we were just rushing through the entire process. So eventually it happened that, hey, I just went in for any professor who didn't even teach me at all, and he gave me a reference out of the kindness of his heart. I'm sure he was being kind, but that wasn't a good thing for me because he could not really talk about me. But in my other preceding applications, I use people who have taught me, who know me, whose class I have got an A, people I have worked with, and all of that, and that held my application. Yeah, so move to the fifth one. Yeah, and then very important one, the fifth one I want to talk about right now is not checking on funding availability in the school. Trust me, graduate program is expensive. It's expensive, even when you're doing it domestically in your home country. So just imagine doing it abroad. It means you're going to pay higher currency, or you're going to pay more money if you are doing it abroad. So, and of course, if you're from a rich home and you can afford it, praise God. But if you cannot afford it, ideally, whenever you start looking for schools, it is good, or it will be a good idea to always look out first for the funding sources in the school. Look out if they support the graduate students, how much they give, how much they offer, how much you're supposed to top up, is it partial, is it full? Please look out for all of those things, because no matter how well you love the program, no matter how well you love their research interest, no matter how well you love the professors in the department, you would have to pay. And if you do not pay for the tuition, I don't know how you're going to continue. I don't know how you're going to continue learning in that school. So please make sure that before you even look out for the requirements of the school, make sure that you have checked out their funding for their students, unless of course you are willing to pay for everything. But even if you can afford it, you're not here to get like 10% or 20% of your tuition off. Just ease some burden off yourself. Yeah. So think about it before you look out for any school. Make sure, will they fund me? Will they give me something? Because so don't just waste your time. Go through the whole thing and then later find out that, hey, I'm supposed to pay for this money, I can't afford it. And you also find out last minute or later, even after you have gained admission, then you know you can't afford. Meanwhile, you've already paid for application fee. So do not put yourself in that position. Don't waste your time. If the school doesn't have funding, move to the next school. Do not just waste your time on that particular school. I think it's not a good idea that you go through the whole program without even getting like 1% off your tuition. Check out schools that have funding just to ease the burden. Okay, so the sixth point I want to talk about is not reading about the country's immigration regulations. So I live in America, or I school in America. And in America, international students are allowed to work for only 20 hours, and you should work on campus. And for other places in Canada, Italy, the UK, and all of that, they have different rules and regulations. So before you pay, or before you decide that I want to come to school at this country or in this country, make sure that you have read about the international students regulations. am I comfortable with it? Is there a place I think as an international student I'll be happy? For example, if you bring your wife or your husband on an F2 status, your partner cannot work according to the student regulations for international students here in the US. Whereas in other countries, your partner can work. It works like it's very different. So think about it. If you have a partner and that partner is going to be your dependent, is it a good place to travel to? Is it a good place? Is it a place where I can work partially and pay for my tuition in case I do not get the needed scholarship, or in case I did not get the funding? What do I do? And for example, like I said, in 2017, I applied for a school in Italy, University of Siena, I think. Yes, and I did not know that for Italian universities, I was supposed to transcribe my documents from English to Italian. I had no idea about it. Went ahead, applied for the school and all of that. Now I had to translate my document from English to Italian, and that came at another cost. But if I had known from the start, I would not have done that. In some countries like Germany, you're expected to bring a guarantor or put in some money into a blocked account. Please find out all of these things before you just rush or before you go and make some mistakes. So check up on the school's international student regulations, international student requirements before you make any of these mistakes. These mistakes are actually avoidable. So please make sure that you have avoided them at all times. And then another thing I want to talk about is low motivation. Because this school itself, like learning in graduate school itself, is very stressful and very lonely. And then this application process, trust me, like I said, I did it in 2017. I didn't get through the programs. In 2018, I did and I got through. In 2020, I applied for my PhD and I got funded as well. And I got into the program. But let's just be truthful and let's just be honest that this whole process is very depressing or can be very lonely. So you need to be motivated. If you're not motivated right from the onset, it will be seen in your SOPs. You want to be happy. You want to be excited. If you're not motivated, the little thing that comes your way, you end up getting like, hey, can I do this? Should I continue? Please, you have to continue. You can do this. You've got this. Like, be confident. Be happy. Even when you are not feeling it, continue. That is the energy now. Keep it. Like, continue. That's why you are here. You told yourself that this year you are going to apply for it. So let nothing stop you. And just tell yourself that every year people get into it. Me too, I'm a human being. I'll get into it. I have the grades, I have the abilities, I have the requirement. Try your best and give yourself this motivation. Because if you have low motivation, it's going to be very, very obvious in your statement of purpose, where you tell us about your motivation for the program and all of that. Yeah. So make sure that you like always constant sure that you are always motivated and you always stay on track. You always stay on track. And then the last thing I want to talk about, I don't think it's a mistake. I just think it's a caution. Like just putting everything together and submitting, and you think you are done. Don't just be extra confident. It will not hurt to go the extra mile of just checking up that, hey, have I just sent the grad coordinator an email? Dear Dr. So and so, my name is Afrakoma. I have applied for your program. I just want to make sure that I have everything set. Even if you do not want to send that email, you can go through the checklist, review. Don't get tired. Review, proofread everything. Just be sure that you are doing the right thing. And trust me, if you avoid these 8 mistakes, you would do well. You will do it, because in the next video that I'm gonna do, I'll talk about the things that you should do. So today I spoke about mistakes, so I'm gonna talk about the right stuff to do in order to make this process very successful this time around. I hope this video was helpful, because these are mistakes. Avoid them. Don't waste your time. I'm an ardent believer in the fact that you don't have to make 10 applications. If you make 4, 5, 3 strong applications, you are good to go. You don't have to waste so much money on 20 applications. I have done that. I did about 12 to 14 in 2017 and it failed. In 2018, I just did 2, and by God's grace, I made it. So you don't have to do 20 before you're able to make it. And then, so you don't have to do 20. Even just 4, 3, 5, that is well done and well processed, can be the key to it. So just get everything done, get everything going. And please, if you're happy with this video, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Let's just grow this page. Let's just have fun. Let's just learn from each other. Let's just come together and let's make this process more easier.